It's time for a short review. Outpost, Book 2 of the Razorland trilogy.
This is the introduction song. It's not very good, but it's not too long.
I reviewed the first book in this series a couple months ago, Enclave. I'll link to it in the description. Words are hard. But you can honestly just copy and paste the majority of my thoughts from that first review into this one, because not a lot's changed. I mean, I would say Enclave's a little bit better, because that one starts off really, really strong and has a really fast-paced story, and then it dips down a little bit at the end, but it's still not too bad. This one starts off kind of weak, and then it ratchets up a little at the end, but it's still really nothing spectacular. Though, again, it wasn't bad by any means. This one is basically just the continuation of the original story. Oh yeah, spoilers for Enclave inside, so if you don't want to hear that, just exit now. But at the end of last book, Deuce, Fade, Stalker, and Tegan ran into a trader, and they managed to get into a town. And this book starts off a couple months later with them just adjusting to life in the town, and Deuce not quite liking the way that the role that she's trying to be forced into, and then later they all just have to go out and protect the farmers while they're doing the summer harvest, and freaks are attacking. It's nothing really spectacular. There's not a whole lot of twists and turns with the story, but it's fine. It works just fine. There's it's a fast enough pace. It introduces us to a couple of new characters who are relatively likable, and some that are just there to be a dick, but whatever. Really not much to say in that department. It's a continuation. The freaks seem to be getting smarter, but, you know, we already knew that from the last book. And, yeah, it's just a continuation of the same story. If you liked it in the first one, you'll like it in this one. The action scenes and the writing are a little bit better, actually. Like, the action is a bit more consistent. You know, I still wouldn't say it's amazing, but I don't think there's any scenes in here that I would really call bad. It gives you enough detail to realize what's going on, and that's about it. Whereas the writing and descriptions and everything outside that are a little bit better than before. Although nothing quite reaches the oppressive tone that the tunnels had in the first one, so I was a little upset with that. One thing I kinda liked in this was that the town they live in, Salvation, it has a very strict role for Deuce to play, because she's a woman and they want women to be a certain way. And so at first it seems like it's going to kind of fall into every, oh, a girl wants to be something else but society won't let her sort of story. You know, like the same story we've heard a million times. But this one mostly avoids that, honestly. Deuce just kind of does whatever she wants and doesn't pay too much attention to what other people think. And also, the reason other people think that way is kind of interesting. It has like a religious aspect to it. Like, they think not being pious enough is what caused the freaks to come and try and kill everybody. So, okay, fair enough. But overall, it's still nothing really spectacular. Fade and Deuce's relationship is also really, really good, honestly. I'll just come out and say it. I liked it. Like, by the standards of this genre, I think I mentioned in the last one, their relationship is already great. Because, you know, they have mutual friendship and respect for one another, and there's actually build-up before it becomes a romance. But in this one, you know, they're already together, and they do have some fights and misunderstandings. Shut up, phone. They do have some fights and misunderstandings, but overall, they talk it out, and they act mature about things. So I greatly appreciated that, honestly. It's a very mature take on this, and it was just interesting to read. Although it did get a little old after a while, because it just felt like filler at certain points, you know? Like, the author was just throwing in drama for the sake of throwing in drama. Especially where Stalker is concerned. Because I mentioned before, I hated Stalker in the last book. I hated the way that they treat his character. And this one, it's slightly worse, okay? Because they're trying to fucking redeem him somehow. And I mean, there's in the copy of the book I got from the library, there's an interview at the end where the author is giving her take on that, and she's saying you have to decide on your own if Stalker can be redeemed or not. And there's a lot of talk about Deuce just thinking, well, that was his environment, that's what he had to do to survive. And she also mentions that the Enclave that she was from forced her to do a lot of horrible shit too. And that's true, but two wrongs don't make a right. And Stalker is honestly still kind of a piece of shit who never, at least so far, has not gotten any sort of punishment for all the nasty things that he's done in his life. And, like, if that upset you about the first book, you're probably going to be even more upset with this one. The climax of this book is also really good. Like I said, you know, it starts off weak, but it gets a lot stronger at the end. This book kind of reminds me of, like the whole trilogy I'm imagining is kind of like a really long sort of Wheel of Time-esque fantasy, where the beginning is really, really intriguing, and there's a lot of mystery, and you're wondering what's going on. And the end is really, really exciting, and there's a whole bunch of action and shit that draws you in. Whereas the middle is where things sort of dip and slow down. I get the feeling this trilogy is going to be like that. Because while I didn't hate this, the Outpost, I didn't think it was as good as Enclave. And hopefully the third one, Horde, will be better. I'll probably do another mini review of that in a couple of weeks. So that's really all there is to say. It just copy-paste my thoughts from Enclave. And I guess subscribe and stuff.